Hello YouTube, this is StompFormula. It is January 4th, 2017, and we are about 2 weeks away from the next tier release of content, which is going to be Nighthold. So today I'm coming to you to talk about the State of Legion, since we're ending the first raid tier, basically. That's what a lot of people are calling it, even though it didn't have a tier set. They're calling it the first tier of raiding. So let's go over a couple of things that have gone down in this, probably the last one. It was only one patch cycle, actually. We had a couple of hot fixes, but only one patch cycle. So we're going to go over things that I noticed, issues, fixes, things like that, and what the game is looking like so far at this point in time. So we're going to start all the way at the beginning, and this is content in regards to the beta. This is how I feel personally from a beta standpoint and what it caused at launch. A lot of players had a lot of expectations with like hidden artifact appearances because there was so much footage in the beta and so many beta keys that were given out, and players had expectations that they were going to be getting their hidden artifact appearances fairly easy, and we kept getting the same answer from the Blizzard development team and from GMs, basically saying that the artifact appearances were working as needed, as intended, and that they were available in-game for the proper way to pick them up, which we found out wasn't true entirely, and I'll go over that in a minute. So this was also the most footage of an expansion from beta that I have ever seen. I don't know if that is, the case because there were so many keys given out, or because there are so many YouTubers now. But what I've noticed is that there was an abnormally large amount of footage on the internet with from the beta for the game. Now, as for launch, Blizzard was pretty quiet after launch on everything, the aspects of having the hidden artifact appearance. They were saying that they were working as intended, and that they were available in game and they were obtainable, which we found out wasn't true. With most of us that were putting in tickets when we were trying to farm our artifact appearances, week 2, week 3 in the game, we found out later that you had to have artifact knowledge level 5 in order to farm a lot of the appearances for a lot of specs in the game, which I thought that was a pretty crappy answer for Blizzard to say that they were obtainable when they indeed were not. There was no possible way for anybody to obtain them, because whenever I submitted the ticket, I think the highest artifact knowledge in the world at that point was like 3 or 4, nowhere even close to 5. So they were pretty quiet in the beginning. They weren't acknowledging a lot of bugs, a lot of things people were having. You'd see a quick hotfix come in really quick, and it would change the playstyle of a certain spec or something like that. And that was pretty much all we saw at the beginning. What I've noticed throughout 7.1 and into 7.15 is there's been a large amount of fixing and refixing of the specs of every spec in the game almost. I know for a fact I play a Vengeance Demon Hunter. That's my main spec, and they nerfed, tank damage 10% across the board. Now they're giving us 9% back in 7.15. I don't understand how they didn't foresee the weight of secondary stats that they claim they never saw whenever they had the amount of beta testing that they had. So with this constant fixing and refixing, you're having a lot of players that are having to retarget gear, different secondaries. A lot of the Havoc Demon Hunters are now realizing that they've got to target. They have to go and target mastery, crit mastery gear instead of crit haste, because mastery is getting a huge bump in 7.15. Now, I'm not real wise on the other specs that are going out there, but it's kind of frustrating on that part for you to have a pretty good set of 880 item level average, and you're doing, you know, decent DPS, and all of a sudden you find out that you're gonna have to change things up in the next patch. So there's a lot of guys that are having to farm gear, and a lot of people have given up and they're re-rolling. You know, I can understand that. I re-rolled a Prot Warrior. I mean, I re-rolled from a Prot Warrior to a Vengeance Demon Hunter when they did the first round of Rage nerfs, because I was completely fed up with it. Prot Warrior was extremely strong, but I felt like they were in a good place. And Raid, I felt like they were in a good place, but they weren't in a good place for heroics, I guess, and low-end mythics. They were overpowered, which I can understand there being an issue with that, but I think they nerfed the wrong thing. Then they buffed it back. You know, it was a whole situation of, oh, we fixed it, but we fixed it too much, and now we're going to refix it. I really think that the fact that there was so much beta testing going on, I find it really hard to believe that Blizzard didn't see these things coming up. And it kind of leads into my next point, which was game developer oversights and miscalculations. This is a big one that came up at BlizzCon. I'm not real sure if a lot of people noticed it. I noticed it. A couple other people did. But with their in regards to artifact power, we'll go with artifact power. So the highest amount of artifact power that people are getting are coming from Mythic pluses. And I don't think Blizzard realizes there's no lockout on Mythic pluses whatsoever. 0 lockouts on Mythic pluses. That you can run them until there are no keys available, which there will never be no keys available in the LFG stuff. So since the lockouts aren't a thing, people are farming item level gear and AP like hard. There's already people at this point in the game that have maxed out artifact weapons. You know, that's what, 54 traits? That's a little insane. I think I have 40 in my Vengeance piece, and I started on my tune 4 weeks after launch because I swapped over from a Prot Warrior. But Blizzard acknowledged it at BlizzCon, and they went with, in 7.2, it sounds like what they said is they're going to be refunding all but 1 Paragon point. So you're still going to have either your DPS with your 5% increased damage, I think healing is 5% increased healing, and tanks is 10% armor. So you're going to keep that 1 Paragon point, but it sounded like they were going to put in 4 more, I may be incorrect on this, but it sounded like 4 more golden traits. So we'll see how that turns out in 7.2. One of the oversights I've seen, and it's very frustrating for lower item level people that are not, that don't have a lot of friends, and they're kind of more casual than the average player, I guess, is the request for much higher item level than what is required for Mythic pluses. Preach actually hit on it like a few days ago on his healer video, that he was looking to get his 846 healer into a +2 Mythic, and someone wanted an 885 healer to run it. But you see it all the time, like 870 groups for +2s or +4s, and in reality, that's extremely too high. I understand that people want to max out their Mythic plus. They want to go through and they want to get 3 chests. But if you're getting 3 chests and everybody in your group is an 880 item level, the likeliness of you getting a piece of gear to Titanforge is extremely low, to a point where you'll be able to use it even for an off spec. So I think it's a little ridiculous. I feel like, and I know this sounds bad, but I feel like there should be diminishing returns for stuff like artifact power and gear for people that are way above the item level requirement for the Mythic Plus that they're going to be running. It's just a little bit stupid. And that brings me into my next thing, which are carry groups and raid carry groups. I think these are dumb. This is, and I know it's been part of every expansion. Look, I did not play Mist of Pandaria. I skipped it. I played WoD for like 2 months and I stopped. But I played Vanilla, I played Burning Crusades, and I played Wrath of the Lich King up until the end of Old War, because I left and I joined the military. And I played Cataclysm. This is the earliest I've seen carry groups in the game. We're not even fully through the first tier of content. You already have people selling for real money Nightbane runs, and people selling for real money plus 15 key runs so somebody can get their artifact appearance, or selling cutting edge achievements for real money. I'm talking like $200-300 to go through and get gear, or like, you know, 500,000 gold for a mythic Emerald Nightmare run. So what ends up happening when this happens is you have a person that has that cutting edge achievement, or they have the plus 15 Mythic Plus key achievement, or they have the Nightbane mount. You have a person that has 885 or 890 item level, you know, average. But then you have this person that can't play their tune well enough, or doesn't know the mechanics well enough to go through and do a normal Mythic Plus 8 with 2 affixes instead of 3. Or can't go through Emerald Nightmare on Heroic because he doesn't know to run the blades out properly during Xavius, because he died at the beginning of the pool on his carry run. And, you know, I don't really know how Blizzard would rectify that, but it's kind of taken away from the gameplay of people who legitimately just want to play the game and progress at a normal level. Whenever you have people coming in with these achievements and they're expected to be really, really well off, people use these achievements to get into pug runs, or they use them to get into guilds, and it turns out that just because they've done this doesn't mean they know what they're doing. They were carried through, and we've seen a lot of it in this expansion. In the guild that I'm in, we've seen a really large amount of it. People would apply for the guild with like 875 item level. This was a while ago. This was before Kara launched. People with 875 item level would come into the guild, and they wouldn't have logs. And whenever they did post their logs, they were parsing at like 4% of their item level, which I thought that was a little bit ridiculous. So I feel like it's taken away from the game experience of a lot of people whenever people go through and they get carried. And it's sad because guilds are enabling it. Like, there are high, and I'm not saying we need to take the monetary value away from these, or monetary gains away from these guilds that have worked really hard to get these achievements, but they're enabling the issue whenever they continue to sell these runs. I understand selling runs at the end of an expansion, like selling Mythic HFC, so you can go get your go get your moose mount or whatever the hell that thing was. But it's a little bit it's a little bit ridiculous in my opinion. Another thing that these are issues that I've run into now. There's quite a few of them. One of the things that I've run into is if you've been raiding like normal and heroic, and you're trying to get your guild into raiding mythic, it's really hard to recruit anybody to join your guild because of the ability for them to use LFG, for anybody to use LFG, to just go ahead and do their normal or heroic raid. It makes it extremely difficult, especially on low population servers, to be able to recruit in order to get into mythic raids. Because, you know, at one point we had 25 raiders, and probably 12 of them were good enough to raid in mythics. And, you know, I'm not saying that people are terrible and they shouldn't have a chance to go in mythics, but these people, you know, the people that I say wouldn't qualify to go into a mythic raid were legitimately wouldn't spend the time to look up their specs rotation or their stat priorities or anything like that. You know, we had guys come in Frost Mages before they got buffed, or Arcane Mages, and I think Arcane's still pretty low on the parse table. They were doing like 130k DPS. You know, they were below the tanks, and they wouldn't look the stuff up. They didn't care. So it made it really hard for us to try to recruit enough people to go into Mythic on the server that we were on. We ended up server transferring, and it helped a little bit, but at the same time we're running into the same issue because we're not already a Mythic established guild, and everybody thinks that Mythic is the normal now because you can just go do LFG, Heroic, and Normal. And personally, I feel like that's kind of ruined the aspect of guilds in the game. You know, sure, you can get everything you want to get done through normal and heroic. You don't have to go to Mythics. I want to go to Mythics. The people that I play with want to go to Mythics. But it makes it really hard whenever... it makes it really difficult whenever people think Mythics are the norm and your guild is kind of looked down upon because you're not into Mythics yet. So, something that I would like to see, and a lot of people are going to disagree with me, and that's fine, you know, I don't really care about that. But one of the things I would like to see is I would like to see normal and heroic raids have the same lockout that Mythics do for server to server, cross-server LFG group binding. You know, not the same length. You know, I understand Mythic, you can't go across servers until the next tier of content comes out. If you're asking that for heroic and normal, that's entirely too much. But kind of like the way they released LFR. You know, after they get done releasing LFR, wait a week and release normal, and then wait, you know, a month and release heroic. And then, or something like that. Stagger it out so by the time they release Mythic, everybody's had a chance to do LFG heroic. I don't know. That's just the way I feel because it's been really hard for me to get into Mythics and get into heroics. I personally haven't been into a Mythic raid yet, and I've played every single day almost since launch. All because I can't find a guild to get into it. I can't get into the guild. My guild itself has pretty much stopped raiding because we're waiting on Nighthold to come out. It seems like it's useless right now to try to recruit. We recruit and recruit and recruit. Put it up all over trade chat. No responses hardly ever. Put it up in the forums. Nothing. And that's just, you know, that's one of the things that's my opinion. This whole video is based on my opinion. It has absolutely nothing to do with, you know, all this fact that I think, you know, WoW is broken or whatever. This is just what I've seen, and these are my opinions, and people that agree with me have played with me, and I've had feedback on this. Now, one of the things that I promised I would do in this video is some good stuff that I feel that has happened in, you know, between launch and all the way up to our next tier content that's coming out really, really soon. And there's hardly a lack of content. I don't care what anybody says. You could have cleared Mythic, Emerald Nightmare, cleared Mythic TOV, cleared Kara, got your Nightbane mount, finished the Suramar quest line. You could have done all that, and there is still a lot of content to do. You know, there's your professions that you can level up, every single profession, including your side professions like archaeology, first aid. All those side professions, your secondary professions have quests. And there's pet battles. There is achievements, Glory of the Legion Hero, stuff like that. You know, there's still a lot of stuff to do in the game. But we're getting kind of close to the end, though. Not gonna lie. End of stuff to do. Another good thing is devs are actually talking now, and they're actually listening to what we're saying, trying to fix things that they've had some oversight on. Especially like the artifact power farming that I talked about earlier, and what they plan on doing in 7.2 to rectify that situation. Because I'm about to hit artifact knowledge level 25, literally tomorrow, and I can't buy any more artifact knowledge. And there are people that are at 54 on their main spec artifact, and it's kind of like, well, what do you do when you get your off spec artifact caught up to 54, and then it's, you know, then there's nothing else to do. What do you do with your artifact power? Do you send it across to another character? What do you do? And that's kind of the thing that everybody's kind of wondering about right now. But the devs are listening, and they're actually trying. They're rectifying a lot of issues. Like, for instance, Vengeance Demon Hunters have been squishy this entire tier, and they're giving us some very extensive buffs coming up. We're probably going to lose a lot of them. They're probably going to re-nerf us down, but at the beginning of 7.15, we're going to be pretty strong tanks. Another thing that I thought was a really good thing is Nighthold is coming out. It is at a very good time. It's not too soon, and it's not taking too long. Yes, there are Mythic Raiders that have been raiding and clearing Mythic Emerald Nightmare to a point where they can sell runs. and they're probably bored. But for people like me, who have, you know, completed Trials of Valor, you know, maybe a month ago, and completed, I'm farming Emerald Nightmare on Heroic now, but I haven't done a plus 15 key yet. But the cool thing is, you know, 715 is coming out. They're going to increase the level of Mythic Pluses, and Nighthold's coming out soon. And I mean, it's coming out at a very good time, in my opinion. Most of the people that are playing the game haven't ran out of content yet. So I feel like it's coming out at a very good time. Awesome timing on Blizzard's end. And the last thing that I have to say that was really awesome is the Suramar quest line. This is the first time that Blizzard has done anything like this at max level. It is a quest line that slowly opened up as you progress through it. It had, you know, its own little weekly lockouts, which, you know, everybody understands why it has that, because you don't want to be able to knock out the entire quest line in one go. I understand that. Everybody else understands that. And Suramar just ended up being really neat. Just a really neat story, from feeding the crackheads to, you know, pulling down the main aristocratic structure from the inside. You know, we did all kinds of cool stuff. Double agent shit, you know, feeding the crackheads, just keeping everybody we did some really cool stuff, and it was a lot of artifact power. So I'm really hoping that the pre-7.2, which is you know, the opening of Tomb of Sargeras, which they said they're going to give us another, you know, quest line. It's going to be a lot like whenever they opened up they were opening up the Sunwell in BC. So I'm hoping it's going to be more like that, but I'm also hoping that they're going to have an awesome story behind it that you can progress through, like Suramar. And I mean, that Suramar quest line, it was huge. It was so expansive. I only just finished it maybe a month ago, maybe not even a month ago, probably 3 weeks ago is whenever I finished it. And I wanted more, which more is going into Nighthold and killing Gul'dan, it turns out. So the storytelling has been awesome. Everything has been awesome in this expansion. The game development team is starting to come around, I think. And I think that as long as they continue to work things out, it'll be alright. I hope Blizzard doesn't go through another huge kerfuffle like 715 is, where they're having to go in and literally redo a lot of these tunes, and these people are having to re-gear their characters and stuff like that. So that's pretty much all I have to say. I mean, leave your comments below. That would be awesome. Like the video if you like it. Subscribe to my YouTube channel if you don't mind. And come watch me on Twitch, twitch.tv/StompFormula. I try to stream 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. Eastern to 4 p.m. Eastern, and then every day, 7 days a week, I stream from 8 p.m. Eastern to midnight. So come by, check it out, ask me some of your Demon Hunter questions or whatever you want to do. But you guys have a nice night. Thank you.